Today, we're going to talk about 4 players to stash on your roster. Guys you can get really late in your rookie drafts or maybe even on waivers. So these are guys that you're going to put on your taxi squad, or you can hold them on your bench if you have a ton of bench spots, depending how deep your league is. These are not going to be the Burtons or the Javon Bakers. We are digging deeper than that. We're going deeper into the 4th, 5th rounds of our rookie drafts. So if you play Dynasty and you like this kind of content, do me a quick favor there. Smash that like for me. Smash that subscribe if you're new. But let's get right to it. First guy up to stash is going to be Malik Washington. Gets drafted by Miami, 6th-round pick, 5'8", 192. This guy was one of the best, if not the best, slot wide receiver in college football last year, with a crazy 111 catches for 1,384 yards and 9 touchdowns. The guy can play, and now he goes to a McDaniels offense. We know how that offense is, how elite that offense is, how they plan on getting the ball in guys' hands in space. You do have Waddle and you do have Cheetah on the outside. Of course, you've got the bunch of running backs in the backfield as well. But Malik Washington could earn himself a role right away in that slot, even though he might not get peppered with a bunch of targets. He is a guy that could have a big game or two, especially if one of these guys goes down. Waddle hasn't been able to stay healthy. He's been injured. He's been banged up all of last year. Cheetah, same kind of thing a little bit last year. You saw him keep coming up with a hamstring injury over and over again. It didn't wind up taking him away for a long period of time or anything like that, but he was a little bit with his hammy last year. So Washington could give you some really good games of production if one of these guys goes down. Next guy we have up here, he was actually a lot earlier in the draft than some of these other guys we're talking about. But Jalen McMillan, I've seen him just falling in a ton of drafts. He does get 3rd-round draft capital, but he goes to a sticky situation with the Tampa Bay Bucks, right? You do have Evans there, you have Godwin, so people are very off of McMillan right now, especially within that offense. Like McMillan is not good. There's not much for McMillan to get in that offense when you do have a Godwin and you do have an Evans, and they just had re-signed Mike Evans. But the reason why I like McMillan is because he was a little bit of a sleeper for me coming in. I really like the talent that he has. But Godwin is on the last year of his contract. So what do they do next year with Godwin? Do they wind up re-signing him? Do they franchise tag him? Does it take 1 year, maybe 2 years for McMillan to get an actual shot to get some opportunities? I don't know, but he's a good guy to just kind of stash, throw him in your taxi if you can, because there is an opportunity, especially if Godwin is not on this team next year. Next guy to stash is going to be Brendan Rice. Goes to the Los Angeles Chargers in the 7th round, obviously son of Jerry Rice. We were hoping that he got drafted a little bit higher, got some better draft capital, but he doesn't. But winds up going to a pretty good spot in the Chargers with Justin Herbert because there's not a lot of talent there. Like they just drafted McConkey. You've got Quentin Johnson, who hasn't been able to prove himself. And you've got Joshua Palmer, who's kind of just a guy, but he's been there for a while and he can play in that offense. So Brendan Rice, if there are some opportunities for him to play, if there are some injuries that happen, McConkey is a guy that hasn't really been able to stay healthy. If there are some injuries, Brendan Rice could step up into that role. So stash Brendan Rice on your taxis in those later rounds of your rookie drafts. And our last guy to stash on your taxi squad, this is the deepest of them all, but a guy that I did like coming in, Jalen Coker from Holy Cross. He wound up with just over 45% of that team's receiving yards in 2023 and also had over 50% of the team's touchdowns. Team had 25 receiving touchdowns. He had 15 of them. So he's a guy that just went to a smaller school, went undrafted, and winds up going to the Carolina Panthers, where there's just not a ton of talent on that receiving core, right? You've got Deontay Johnson, you've got Leggett, who they just got, and then you've got Mingo, who really hasn't shown anything yet, and old Adam Thielen. So with some injuries that could happen, that could give some opportunities for Coker to have a shot and play on that offense. But that wraps it up for the wide receivers to stash on your taxi squad in those later rounds. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about these players, and also if I missed any. Are there any other wide receivers maybe that we should be looking out for to put on our taxi squads? And before you go, just do me that quick favor, smash that like for me, smash that subscribe. It's a great way to help the channel. Appreciate y'all. See y'all in the next one.